So the movie of the night was The Wolf of Snow Hollow. I honestly had never heard of this film. It just popped up on Facebook and then also on Instagram, as an ad. And so naturally, I was like, all right, I gotta check this out. I'm always down for new movies. I was definitely surprised. So the movie itself is kind of like a black comedy. It's kind of a horror themed comedy. So that really kind of caught me off guard. And when I started watching the movie initially, it just felt very much like a Goosebumps episode. It was kind of like trying to be serious, obviously, but it just had this really playful like score to it. So I was really confused as to what to think. There's this one scene right at the beginning of the movie. Guy and a girl go basically on a date out to like a pub type thing and get some food, and then they're driving home, and there's a scene where you see the car driving, and there's just like the snow plow lines along the side of the road. Get home, and it flashes to the scene of an animal that's been stuffed, like taxidermy stuffed. And for whatever reason, I paused it right there because I think my mom called me. And then me and my roommate sat there for like 20 minutes trying to figure out what animal is this, and we could not figure it out. So if anybody knows what the animal was, please tell me. My best guess was it looks kind of like a wolverine, like maybe an albino wolverine. Google it. Anyways, that tangent aside, I just felt like, okay, maybe this isn't really going to be that much of a horror movie. And then the first event happens, and I was like, okay, maybe we are looking at a horror movie here. Basically, this gal just gets attacked, and they're not sure what happens, and they just find her body, and she's just shredded. Her female parts are missing, and the body's pretty mangled, like a leg's missing, everything like that. And I was pretty impressed because of how like it started out, and I felt like I said like kind of like a Goosebumps episode, like kind of more like a TV episode of like a crime type show type thing. So the film kind of follows a cop who his father is currently the sheriff, and it seems like he's pushing to be sheriff. And it starts out, I think the first scene you see him in, he's in an AA meeting. It's been 3 years since he last drank, and he's just trying to get his life on track. And his father, who's played by the late, great Robert Forster, which is kind of awesome. I didn't anticipate seeing him in a film in 2020 since he did pass away last October. So it was kind of cool to get one last film from him. The thing that I'm kind of on the fence about is his character, because he's trying to solve this mystery, because, I mean, that's just what he's doing within the police department. But he's so on edge, and it seems like he just keeps making the wrong choices the entire film. And it's very comical, his character, and I believe he's actually the director of the film. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Jim Cummings? He directs it, as well as he's the actor for the officer. And he just freaks out, and it's just hilarious. Like, I just didn't see it coming. Just the way that he just explodes over the top, and some of his banter with some of the other cops and stuff like that. Like, one of the cops makes a joke like, oh, maybe it's just a hunter who doesn't have a license, and there's just this dead body on a snow berm. And he's like, you really think it's just a hunter without a license? You want to come over here and say that? And he's like, you're going to say that after looking at this? And the guy's like, I think it's a hunter who doesn't have a license. The whole kind of story of, basically they establish it's like this werewolf type thing that's attacking people, and it's very tall and looks like an actual werewolf, and you're kind of led to believe that that's what it is. Was not too bad done. Like, I mean, it was very tall and big and burly, like I would imagine a werewolf to be. And again, like I said, the gore, which wasn't super gory in a weird way. Like, I don't know how to explain to have something so gory, but not gory. Maybe grotesque? Where, like, you don't actually see, like, the limbs getting ripped off or anything like that, but then you can kind of quick glance, or, like, in the background blurred, from, like, because it's focusing on this person, and in the background behind, you see, like, the mangled body and stuff like that. I thought it was just really well done in that sense. Really confused by the kind of climax of the case, where they end up finding the guy in charge of all of it. And basically, like, case closed, we figured it out, we found him. And it's a guy that's in a trailer, and he's shooting something up into his veins, and they figure out that it was like silver or something like that, so it leads you to believe that he was the werewolf. But in reality, it turns out to be another guy who they go and return evidence to. So I feel like this movie, especially being a Jim Cummings film, is probably going to have a kind of cult following to an extent. For me, it wasn't anything that was really captivating to where I was like, oh, I really need to look more into Jim Cummings and stuff like that. And I've heard of him before because I'm pretty sure he won an award at the South by Southwest Film Festival, or one of the film festivals of the world. Because I know his name, and I remember like looking up at the beginning like the actors in this movie. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just out of the loop on this one. It's kind of a comical movie that I didn't see that coming, but also kind of a well done kind of little story in and of itself in the way that it plays out. Because from the beginning, I called that Jim's character was 100% the wolf, and it was going to be this weird thing of like, he doesn't realize it, and they're doing all these like things like trying to find this murder and everything like that. And then you realize like, oh shoot, he was actually the one that was killing them, until there's a scene where he actually shows up when his daughter's in a car and starts shooting at the wolf. And then I was like, okay, that myth busted. I lose. Definitely not a bad time. But like I said, I wasn't too crazy like over the top about this movie. I don't think this is one that I'd really like, oh my gosh, all my friends need to check this movie out. But if you're looking for a really kind of comical, darker movie, I think this wouldn't be a bad thing to check out. So for this one, I think I'm going to go with a 6, because I was surprised. I did laugh a couple times because of just the kind of darker humor of the film, and just the portrayal of the cop and him just going off the rails, and the crazy stuff that's happening with him going back into his alcoholism and stuff like that, which isn't a laughing matter, but in this sense it was. 6, I think, is a pretty good one for me personally. Definitely check it out. Again, it's called The Wolf of Snow Hollow. I personally had to rent it from Google. I wasn't able to find it on any streaming sites, but it's definitely worth checking out.